So this is another video in my DIY cosmetics series where I teach you how to make your own makeup. It's a great personalized Christmas gift idea, and it's also really fun to do. So today I'll be showing you how to make shimmer products, and the same formula can be used for eyeshadows, highlighters, bronzers, blushes, you name it. The light isn't exactly ideal, but I'm actually using one of my highlighters right now. If you want a tutorial for a matte formula, I've done it in a separate video. I'll link it below. Anyway, first of all, let's discuss materials. I prefer buying my materials from tkbtrading.com just because they offer small sample sizes, so it lets me try out a lot of different colors for cheap. TKB Trading sample sizes are usually about $1.50 for 6 grams, and 6 grams of pigment is actually quite a lot because your average eyeshadow is just 1.5 gram. So with 6 grams of pigment, you'll be getting about 4 to 8 pans of eyeshadow depending on how much base you use. There's definitely other sites you can buy your cosmetic supplies from. Another site I've tried before is makingcosmetics.com, but Making Cosmetics is a bit more expensive than TKB Trading for their samples, so I've only bought from them once. These are the only 2 suppliers I've tried, so they're the only ones I can recommend. But, you know, they're not the only ones, so feel free to find your own suppliers. I'm not sponsored by TKB Trading in any way, I just really like their products. So when you browse the TKB Trading website, you'll see they have a lot of pigments and micas. There's so many colors, you can easily go nuts. For eyeshadows, blushes and bronzers, you can pretty much pick any color that catches your eye. But for highlighters, it gets a bit more complicated. So in this tutorial, I'll be focusing more on highlighters. Why more complicated? Because for highlighters, you want a formula that's not too opaque. Or of course, you know, you can be free to be yourself and just make yourself an opaque, colorful highlighter, which is basically an eyeshadow by another name. It's totally your call, but in general, if you want that translucent sort of glow from a highlighter, then you're going to have to pick the right pigments. So to find the right pigments that work as highlighters, filter for interference pigments. Basically, these are the pigments that interfere with your current colors by adding a different sheen to them and therefore turning them duochrome or changing their color up a bit. So of course, the TKB Trading website is not ideal and the filter isn't that perfect. Obviously, matte eyeshadows are not interference pigments at all, but this will pretty much help you find the pigments you need. My personal favorite pigment for highlighters is Silken Gold. It's honestly universally flattering. I normally shy away from using universally flattering because it's rare to find something that'll fit the whole range of skin tones out there. But this one, I've given it to my friends who's Sri Lankan, Indian, Malay, native Indonesian, Chinese Indonesian, and they all look really good. So, you know, I think that has covered quite a whole host of skin colors. Silken Gold, I love it. Try it out. So TKB Trading has 6 different collections of interference pigments. Yeah, I'm sure you'll notice there's the mermaid collection and so on and go, wait a minute, there's 8. But I'm discounting the 2 that they do not recommend to be placed around your eyes, because if you don't want them around your eyes, you don't want them as highlighters either because their particle sizes are really large, they're like glitter, and because of that, they're not really ideal as highlighters. So the way these collections differ from each other is in terms of their shifting abilities and their particle sizes. It's important to take note of the particle size because the larger the particle size is, the more glittery it is and the more brilliant the shine is. But at the same time, the less smooth it is and the more likely it is to snag on your pores and wrinkles. So yeah, these pigments look really great when you're on stage or for photos, but not great for close-ups or in real life unless you're a poreless Barbie, I hate you, or you're trying to get into the holiday spirit by looking like a foiled, crinkled elf, the kind that lives for thousands of years without the gift of eternal youth. Also, the larger the particle size is, the harder it is to get it to stick to your skin, so the more fallout you'll get. And because they're more likely to fall out, so you can expect the disco ball face effect. For the smaller particle sizes, of course, the sheen is less dramatic, but in real life, it looks more natural. It doesn't emphasize your pores as much, and it's also smoother and easier to blend. As for the shifts, some of these are just a single highlighting color. So it's just blue, period. But some of these actually shift color depending on how the light hits them. These color shifting pigments are really fun and you can create the most amazing highlighters and eyeshadows with them. They're great for creating eyeshadows that are perfect for a single eyeshadow look. I've created a tutorial for that before. I'll link it below. Anyway, let me show you swatches of one blue shade from all of 6 TKB Trading's Interference collection. Starlight Blue and Sparkle Turquoise are actually from the Interference Extra 6 collection, but I wasn't sure which one will look more similar to the other colors, so I just swatched both. And of course, these are only the colors that are safe for eyes. So the highlights, Interference Extra 6 and the Sparks collection are single sheen colors. They're awesome if you don't want to stress yourself out over color theory and you want just a predictable result that you know will look good with the base color you put underneath. The Shift collections are duochrome shades which look like a certain color, but when the light hits it, it becomes a different color. So if you like the NYX duochromatic illuminating powders, these are basically similar to that, and most mainstream duochromatic highlighters basically work like these pigments. Now the Moon Dust and the Planetary pigments is where the magic happens. As you can see from the swatches, you'll notice something odd seems to be happening there. It seems to be multiple different colors. They shift between 3 colors depending on how the light hits them. It's really, really magical. In fact, one time I was using an eyeshadow that contains one of these color shifting pigments in them, and I posted it on Reddit going, look at the color shift. And for a while I was getting downvoted like crazy because people are like, I don't see the shift. And it turns out the shift was so dramatic from pink to green that people thought I blended 2 different colors together when it's actually the same eyeshadow. So these are really magical, magical shades and I love using them. They're also more expensive and that's why you don't often, I haven't seen them in mainstream cosmetics actually. And that's why I like making my own cosmetics because they're the only way I can afford these pigments, I think. I'm pretty sure if you want to buy them in mainstream cosmetics, they're going to be so expensive. For pigment sizes, the Sparks and the Moon Dust have the largest pigment sizes. So they're very glittery, very amazing for camera, but again, not that great if you have pores or fine lines like me. So I usually only use them for pictures, but in real life, well, I suppose I still go out with them, but you know, I don't look so good if you come up close. And I prefer carrying a broom with me so I can just whack everyone and make sure they stay within 1 broom distance. That way I look gorgeous. The highlights in the Planetary collection have the smallest particle sizes, and that's why they're the smoothest and also the most natural looking. So the highlighter I'm using has more pigments from the Highlight collection, so that's why it's not showing up so dramatically on camera, but in real life it looks very, very natural. So if you want something that you can wear day to day and look very natural, I suggest you go with the Highlight or Planetary pigments. It won't look as dramatic on camera, but in real life, it's good. They're also more blendable and more forgiving to fine lines and pores. Yeah. The Interference Extra 6 collection and the Shift collection is about in between the 2 sizes, though I'm not sure if it's just me, but I feel like the Shift collection has a smaller particle size than the Interference Extra 6. So if I'm going to rank the particle sizes from largest to smallest, it'll be Moon Dust and Sparks on top, Interference Extra 6, Shift collection, and then at the bottom, Planetary and Highlights. So by now you should have a rough idea of which pigment you'd like to use. So let's get on to the tutorial on how to turn them into usable products. As usual, keep your hair out of your face, put on an old shirt that you don't mind getting stained or messed up, a mask, and gloves. If you look like you're about to murder someone, you're doing good. Sterilize everything. Yup, I forgot to buy my alcohol spray again, so I'm using the skinny tiny alcohol wipe to sterilize my workspace. Not ideal, but oh well. So in my previous video discussing how to make matte eyeshadows, I discussed slip, adhesion, and pigmentation. Slip is how blendable the product is and how smooth it is on your skin. Adhesion is how well it sticks on the skin. Does it have a lot of fallout or does the color stay? And pigmentation is, well, how pigmented the color is. Whenever you're making makeup, you'll always have to find a right balance between the three. You'll always have to trade one quality in favor of the other. So it's like distributing stats on your video game character, you know, you gotta pick one over the other. The TKB trading matte eyeshadow base I was using in the previous tutorial isn't ideal for these shimmer products because it does contain titanium dioxide, and titanium dioxide has a mattifying, whitening effect. So it's not ideal for shimmers, especially if you want to create highlighters. So this is where you have to create your own base. After years of experimenting, this is the base I like using. Feel free to use it, but if you do use it, please remember to credit me. Thank you in advance. So the formula I typically use is 4 parts L-lysine coated cerussite mica, 1 part magnesium myricate, and 1 part silica microspheres. Add all these in a Ziploc bag and then just start squishing. If you're making a lot of this, you may want to mix them in a coffee grinder instead because your arms will get so tired. Now that you have the eyeshadow base, all you have to do is mix 1 part base to 1 part color. So for shimmers, I try not to squish them too much because sometimes you just ruin the shimmer that way. So what I like to do is put them straight in the container and then just shake it. This typically works well enough, but again, every pigment is different, and this is why making cosmetics can be a bit challenging, and that's why it's so fun. Test out your product and see if it performs as well as you want. For example, for highlighter, you may want it more sheer. For eyeshadows, you may want it more opaque. So just check out how it's performing and see if you like it. If you're not liking how it's performing, that's when you have to alter the formula. If it blends away to nothingness and doesn't stick to your skin at all, you may want to add more magnesium myricate. For larger particles, you can even expect to use 2 to 3 parts magnesium myricate in the base instead of just 1 part. The reason I stick to just 1 instead of 2 or 3 is because I prefer putting less than too much. That way, if I put too little, I can still correct it by adding more bit by bit. But once I put too much, it's a bit more complicated trying to fix it. Of course, if you pick something with really, really large particles, then they're going to need more help to stick on, and a loose powder formula just won't cut it. That's when you may have to consider a semi-loose formula or a pressed formula. For a tutorial on how to press your loose powder cosmetics, I've done one before. I actually pressed my eyeshadows into lace eyeshadows. They're so pretty. I'll link the tutorial right below. For the cream formula, I unfortunately don't have a video tutorial for it yet, but I do have a tutorial on my blog. I'll link it below. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll create a video tutorial eventually. Yeah. Anyway, if it's not pigmented enough, of course you can add in more pigment. If it's too opaque, you may want to add a bit more silica microspheres. If it's too streaky and unblendable, you may want to experiment with adding a mix of silica microspheres and a cerussite mica. So just experiment until you get the texture you want. Just keep playing with a mix of all the ingredients. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching the tutorial. I hope you find it useful and you'll have fun creating your own makeup, whether it's for you or for a special someone in your life. I'll have 2 more DIY cosmetics tutorials coming up. They'll come out as usual on Wednesdays and Fridays, 9 p.m. Jakarta time. These tutorials will be for the procrastinators among us who may not have enough time to create all this and need a personalized Christmas present in a hurry. I've been there. We've all been there. No shame in that. So the tutorial will be on modifying existing cosmetics to create whole new products, and I may split into 2 videos. So happy holidays, everyone, and I'll see you guys next time.